Hey guys, here, aka G, and welcome to the GTA 5 top 5 episode, top 5 muscle cars. Let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see next for other episodes in the future. And of course, remember, it's completely down to my opinion. Of course, you know, some of your lists will be probably different. So let me know in the comments below what your list would look like for the top 5 muscle cars. The muscle cars are absolutely awesome because the engines rev up a lot with the intervals between changing gears rather long as well with the gear ratio. So you really have the potential to drift, except for one or two of the muscle cars, but the majority of them can drift and drift absolutely well. Of course, this reason why this video is 14 minutes long because of sort of these drifting footage that I managed to get, which absolutely awesome that you guys got to try out for yourselves. If you guys don't know how to drift, I will be making a tutorial for it in the future. And of course, if you guys do enjoy my top 5 list, then be sure to slap a like button on this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's get right into number 5 spot. We have the Vapid Blade, brand new DLC car which came through one of the recent DLCs before the Independence Day. The I'm Not a Hipster update brought a lot of these cars, a lot of customizable options. The one in particular was the Vapid Blade, which is a muscle car, a new addition to the muscle category. We wanted to see what this car was capable of doing compared to every other muscle car in the game, and this turned out to be the best when producing best and fastest lap times. Had quite a bit of customizable options for the spoiler edition, increase and improving the traction and downforce around corners. Absolutely amazing. Only downside is that it doesn't have the tendencies to oversteer, so the turning circle is pretty poor. However, it's got amazing traction, so when taking corners it's absolutely efficient when it comes to handling and racing and whatnot. So it's really simple to sort of know what will happen, what to expect with the results around corners, because it's very predictable. So what we know so far is this is the best car for racing within the muscle category. It's got amazing acceleration around corners. Only downside in my opinion is not the greatest car to ride around in free roam. You know, it's not comfortable. Obviously, you know, you could be saying completely opposite, because in free roam you want to have a car that is really fun to drive around with. Most likely, you know, most of us prefer cars that can drift about a lot, because, you know, drifting in free roam is the best thing to do pretty much if you're driving about and whatnot by yourself, or even with your friends and test yourself who can do the best drifts and whatnot with certain obstacles. And realistically speaking, you can't really do that with this car. You can see with this footage here, it is pretty poor at drifting. It's not the greatest. It's got a lot of traction and it's so grippy onto the ground. That's what you're going to get with this car. So unfortunately, on that side of things, it's not the greatest, but there's an element of balance for every single car. Of course, it's going to be the greatest car for racing. That means it's not going to be great for another thing. So that's what's pretty much the case for this particular situation. So at number 4 spot, we have the Bravado Gauntlet. This is another amazing muscle car that had to be in the top 5 list simply because of its drifting capabilities. Other than that, everything now is not particularly that great, I suppose. The general look looks nice, but sometimes it does look like a shoebox to me when it comes to the handling sort of thing, side of things. Sorry, the turning circle is not particularly great, so it feels rather rigid when you take corners, especially in races and whatnot. But it's a completely different story when you try to actually drift with this car, because this car is pretty damn good when it comes to drifting. Although it seems like you're sort of gliding here, but realistically speaking, you are actually drifting. And the way to drift is pretty much, you know, controlling the revs of the car, or making sure you're revving all the time as you're sort of drifting, because if you keep that control, it's all about controlling it with your handbrakes. And if you do that properly, then you could drift around corners with ease. And obviously everything else is to do with your right analog stick and how you sort of change the camera angles as you are drifting, so you make your drifts, I suppose, better as you're sticking to the apex of the corner as you're drifting around it. Really gives it that better feel and better experience when drifting with these cars in this game. Here's the thing, guys, a lot of people think you can't drift in this game and there's no such thing as drifting. I believe so. There is actually drifting in this game without having to mod, without having to cheat or glitch. You know, a lot of people out there who provide tutorials do some sort of tire trick or whatever. That's, you know, not necessary. You can actually drift legitimately without any sort of modding or glitching or whatever. It's easily doable. But anyway, number 3 spot, we have the Sabre Turbo, and this is another car. It's got a lot of customizable options, awesome engine sound when drifting as well. You hear the revs, absolutely awesome. And one of the things, man, it comes down to control and practice if you want to drift, and you can do it with ease once you get used to it. The whole point is to see how much, you know, how long can you carry on the drifts for on a particular area. For example, the area that I showed you, what I'm showing you, sorry, in this footage, is the best in my opinion, because you get a lot of tight corners everywhere, and you can sort of just carry on the momentum from a drift and to a consecutive corner. But you can keep doing this one after each other, not just 2 corners, not just 3. You can do this for 4 or 5 in this area here. And you can also get these random cars that spawn, so you can do sort of like horse hoof drifts, which is something you're going to see here, which is pretty damn awesome. And it's something that you got to weave in and out of the cars without touching any of the obstacles. The whole point of drifting, obviously, to make this sort of the art and the beauty of it, is to not crash or not to, you know, get sort of tip your car into anything and really take things smoothly. And that's the one thing I love about these muscle cars. You know, number 3 spot, this one You know, I really wanted to put this number 3 spot because it is a great car, generally speaking, for handling. It's got amazing turning circle, it doesn't spin out. And this is just amazing. Look at this, perfect example. You can literally do a 360 spin, while you drift around a goddamn stable car. And that's the Dominator right there, chilling, randomly spawned there. But the Sabre Turbo is capable of drifting as well. You can see not to the extent of the other cars that I've showed so far and cars that are within the category, but you can still do it because it's got awesome turning circle along with an awesome engine that actually helps out, and the fact that this car doesn't actually spin out even when you're pushing yourself around these corners with the drifting. You see it is perfect example. You see how you can sort of do the massive horse hoof right here. That's a perfect symmetrical horse hoof, and then you sort of carry on. This is all of this is drifting right here. All of this entire time drifting. Absolutely amazing feel with this car, man. You know, controlling the handbrakes with the engine, carrying on the momentum. This is still carrying on, and you literally just keep going, and it's really, really awesome, man. You know, taking them corners as you're sliding. That was a fail there. Pretty much impossible to actually do that, but you know, consecutively keep doing this in a circle. But impossible to squeeze through that gap there with the car in the way. But that would have been awesome. You could try that spot, definitely try it out. But number 2 spot, obviously we have the Imponte Phoenix, a lot of customizable option with a sort of exaggerated spoiler, which is the only car that has that. Absolutely insane. Drifting with this car is another thing that I'm sure you guys need to check out. This is quite a long footage here with this particular car, but it's absolutely amazing. The car is insane. It's so easy to do it because of the response time around the corner. It's something ridiculous, man. Literally, you don't even have to put in a spoiler first of all to even drift with this car. You can do it with or without the spoiler. Obviously, the spoiler improves traction, so I guess technically it wouldn't help drift, but regardless, you see here, look how close I am to the apex as I am drifting here. But obviously to it, some of these, it's just the beauty of this car. Literally, you can do that 360 drift with this car, I don't know, just continuously without stopping, I suppose. Like that depends completely on how well you can control, how consistent you are, how composed you are. You know, try it for yourself. This area of the map, I believe it's that little soul near the car park, where the track that I tested all the lap times with the cars, literally at the starting point there when you exit the garage, and you see this little car park. Absolutely awesome. You know, definitely a good place to practice your drifting. That's one thing, and to perfect it as well, and try different routes as well. That's another thing you can also do. And realistically speaking, the whole point of this is to make sure you don't sort of crash or collide. You want to keep it going and keep it consistent with consecutive drifting around corners instead of just 102. See how well, to the point how much you can sort of push yourself till your car completely stops revving. The whole point is you don't want to make your car accelerate too much to the point where you're just fully going at top speed. You don't want to reach that speed. You want to sort of control the speed along with your handbrakes, and you want to keep on turning your car left, right. I'm pretty much giving you sort of a guide here, but it's very hard to explain. But you guys get what I'm saying. The whole point is to control it with your handbrakes, and you don't accelerate too much, as I said, because if you straighten up your car, then obviously it's going to be more difficult to drift. And at higher speeds, it will most likely, you know, your car will sort of slam into the sides with the momentum of the speed. So you really want to control it. And with this car here, you can see how awesome it is. Literally just gliding on the ground. It's gliding. You can see it. You can just see the rear tires, how much they're working here. And this is some of the slow ass drifts that you can sort of pull off, but it is what it is. And you really can control how you want the car to go around the apex as well, which is pretty damn awesome. Another horse hoof coming up here, I believe. Yep, kind of awkward one. I do end up crashing here, but in a way it did help me out, drift around this corner. And there you have it. You know, it carries on. I don't know, something about drifting. Here's the thing, right? I honestly did not know that you can actually do this properly till recently when testing these cars out. I wasn't much of a drifter in this game. I know you can easily do it with a futo, but I'm sure you can do it with every other car in the game if you control the speed, the revs, along with the handbrakes, obviously. I'm sure you can do it with every other car, but I'm definitely going to give it a go. I'm definitely going to test it. And also, I'm going to do some sort of like a live series based on the cars. Maybe that's the idea. Let me know what you guys think, if I should do some live tryouts with these cars, see if they're driftable in this particular location every single episode. And if they're able to consistently going around a 360 loop like this, which is freaking awesome, sticking near the apex while just completely going. This right here is just awesome, being able to do that with the Phoenix and every other car so far that I've showed you, except for the Vapid Blade, which is definitely interesting. And you're gonna see when the number 1 spot comes along, boy, that car can drift, you know what I mean? So anyway, showing you the final footage of the Imponte Phoenix. And here, number 1 spot, of course we have the Vapid Dominator, man. We cannot let this go. This car is absolutely amazing for free roaming. It's a decent car in racing, I suppose, but it's extremely difficult to fully understand it. It does take time to perfect it, I suppose. If you do perfect it, then you can dominate the races technically. However, if there's a poor driver that understands the Vapid Blade, as Vapid Blade is pretty much easy to pick up, then the Vapid Blade obviously will dominate the racetrack. But anyway, the point is, you can make a lot of silly mistakes with this car if you're not careful with it. You gotta pay attention to everything with the minute details with this, as it's very unpredictable if you're not paying attention, of course. And if you really understand and learn the car, then I'm sure you will dominate. Hence why it's called the Dominator. Now, anyway, gonna be going into the location of where I'm gonna be showcasing the drifting with this particular car. This car can drift, so I'm saying it can drift perfectly, and you pretty much will have all control. I suppose one of the downsides is that it's rather supposedly big, but that's not a huge issue because you can still fit around these corners and take these corners smoothly as you're drifting. And that's the beauty of it, you know. This car is slightly lengthy, you know, not big, sorry, but slightly lengthy. That's what I was supposed to say. And the length of it can sort of affect what corners you can drift around and what corners you can't. And I suppose you got to be extra careful as you're drifting, because you don't want to push yourself too much with the acceleration and the speed, because this car does have great sort of it does carry a lot of momentum around these corners when drifting. So if you do push yourself with the acceleration, you can easily slam into the side. So you want to be controlling that properly and really paying attention to that. And the overall handling is pretty damn cool. You can see here, it's just go around in 360s if you really wanted to. And you can really tell when you're drifting and you want to make sure you're consistently drifting without stopping, and you make sure it's efficient. All you got to do is pay attention to the rear tires, man. Rear tires, they should be literally all the time revving and sort of having rear spins and really sort of producing skid marks all the time on the ground. That's when you know you're drifting all the time. If that's not happening, then you're doing it wrong. You want to do that consistently. You want to target that all the time. Even if you're straightening up, you want to carry that on to the next corner. So what you do, you obviously drift inwards and go out to the wider line, and you cut in again to this consecutive corner. And this is awesome, man. This is just perfect example. Just a beautiful drift around that corner. And obviously you saw there, I stopped there slightly, which is my mistake. The whole point is to carry on. And you see there, sort of little shimmy to the side. You can control that. You can actually control that. Some people, what they'll do, just slam into that. But realistically, you can control that with the handbrakes and drift around that with ease and really control your car. And that's the understanding. That's what makes the difference. And that's what makes the difference with a proper drift and a power slide. So this car for me is the best muscle car. That had to be number 1 spot for this, just because it's so fun and free roaming. It's got a tendency to oversteer quite a bit. So I'm just the person that prefers a car that oversteers, and this is one of them. The response time is absolutely great. And you already can drift without having to intentionally drift, that makes sense, without having to force yourself to press the handbrakes all the time. This one literally just glides all over the floor and you're just skidding all over the place. So this is the perfect car for me. And those ones where you sort of just chill and free run with and just go around freaking drifting everywhere. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what your top 5 would look like for your muscle cars. If you disagree with my list, remember this completely down to my opinion, guys, on which one I prefer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Sign out. Good night. Peace. Yeah. Hey guys, here, you know, welcome to the GTA 5 top 10 episode. Today I'm going to be showing you top 10 sports cars. These are my favorite top 10 sports cars. Of course, it's completely based on my opinions and